My wife secretly cheated right before our wedding, so I made sure she lost everything. The betrayal I never saw coming. I always thought I was one of the lucky ones. Meeting Claire felt like winning the lottery. She was beautiful, smart, kind, everything I had ever wanted in a partner. From the moment we met, it felt like we were meant to be together. We had the same sense of humor, the same dreams for the future, and for years, I genuinely believed she was my soulmate. We had been together for 5 years, and our wedding was only a week away. Everything was perfect. The venue was booked, the guests were flying in, and Claire was glowing with excitement every time we talked about our future together. Or at least, that's what I thought. Looking back, I should have noticed the small changes in her behavior. The way she had been more distant lately. The way her phone never left her hand, but she was quicker to hide the screen than before. The late nights at work, the sudden interest in getting space before the wedding to have some alone time. But I was blinded by love. I ignored the warning signs, convincing myself that it was just wedding stress. Until the night that changed everything. The moment that shattered everything. It was late, past midnight, when I woke up to the sound of Claire's phone vibrating on the nightstand. At first, I ignored it. But when it vibrated again and again, I finally turned over, half asleep, and glanced at the screen. One notification. I can't stop thinking about last night. When can we do it again? I felt my stomach drop. At first, I thought my tired eyes were playing tricks on me. But when I grabbed the phone and read the name attached to the message, my blood turned ice cold. It was from her boss. My hands started shaking as I scrolled up. Hundreds of messages. Some deleted, others left as if she had gotten careless. My breathing got heavier with every word I read. Explicit messages. Secret meetups. Lies upon lies. And then, the final blow, a message from just a few days ago. I can't believe I'm getting married soon. But at least I'll always have you on the side. Winky face. The room felt suffocating. I stared at the screen, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst out of my chest. My mind raced through every moment we had spent together in the past few months. Every night, she said she was working late. Every time she said she was exhausted when I wanted to be close to her. It was all a lie. My fiancée, the woman I had planned to spend the rest of my life with, had been cheating on me with her boss. And I had almost married her. The rage that took over. I don't remember how long I sat there, staring at the screen. Minutes? Hours? It didn't matter. My first instinct was to wake her up, to scream at her, to demand answers. But as I turned to look at her, peacefully asleep beside me, something inside me snapped. She was going to wake up tomorrow and continue lying to me. She was going to walk down the aisle in a white dress, promising to be faithful, while knowing full well she had another man waiting for her. The thought made my skin crawl. I wanted revenge. But not just any revenge. I wanted to take everything from her. I wasn't going to let her walk away from this unscathed. So instead of waking her up, I put her phone back on the nightstand. And I started planning. The first step, gathering evidence. I knew I couldn't go into this without proof. Claire was a master manipulator. And if I simply confronted her, she would gaslight me, twist my words, and try to convince me that I was imagining things. So I needed undeniable proof. I spent the next few days collecting everything I could. Screenshots of their messages. I saved every text, every deleted conversation I could recover. Emails. I went through our shared computer and found reservations for a hotel she had booked. On a night, she told me she was with her bridesmaids. Bank statements. I found proof of expensive dinners and gifts she had claimed were work expenses. By the time I was done, I had a full dossier of her affair. But I wasn't stopping there. The perfect trap. Once I had the evidence, it was time to set the ultimate trap. Claire was still acting like nothing was wrong, still gushing about the wedding, still telling me how much she loved me. It made my skin crawl, so I played along. I pretended everything was fine. I continued talking about the wedding, discussing our honeymoon plans, and telling her how excited I was to spend forever with her. And then, I made sure the wedding went ahead as planned. But not for the reason she thought. Why I didn't call off the wedding right away. Some people might ask, why didn't you just break up with her immediately? Because that wasn't enough. She had humiliated me, betrayed me, lied to me while looking me in the eyes. I wasn't going to let her walk away quietly. I was going to make sure that everyone knew who she really was. So I let her believe everything was normal. I let her think she had gotten away with it. But behind the scenes, I was planning the most humiliating wedding day of her life. The beginning of her downfall. I spent the next few days pretending nothing had changed. Claire had no idea I knew. She was still acting sweet, loving, and excited about our wedding. She still kissed me in the morning, still talked about how she couldn't wait to walk down the aisle, still texted me throughout the day about how lucky she was to have me. It made me sick. Every time I looked at her, all I could hear were the words she had sent to her boss. At least I'll always have you on the side, winky face. The betrayal burned through me like acid. But I forced myself to stay calm. Because I had a plan. The fake proposal. 2 days after I found out about her affair, I decided to push my act even further. I had already told Claire's parents how excited I was for the wedding. They adored me. Almost more than they adored their own daughter. They believed I was the perfect man for her. Which meant that if things went wrong at the wedding, they wouldn't automatically take her side. So I did something bold. I planned a fake romantic gesture to throw Claire completely off track. One night, after dinner, I surprised her with a pre-wedding gift. It was a necklace, a stunning diamond pendant. Expensive, elegant, the kind of thing she would normally gush over. But this time, she hesitated. "Oh my God, babe," she whispered, holding it in her hands. "This is amazing." She was faking it. I saw the flicker of guilt in her eyes. Maybe the weight of what she had done was finally hitting her. Maybe she was realizing that she had lied, cheated, and still expected me to be the perfect, doting fiancé. "You deserve the best," I said softly. She swallowed hard. "I love you so much." I smiled. "I love you too, Claire." It was the last time I would ever say those words. Turning her own wedding against her. The wedding was less than a week away. Everything was set in motion. I had my proof. Screenshots, emails, even a recorded phone call between Claire and her boss that I managed to capture when she was being careless. I had the perfect audience. I personally made sure to invite key people, her parents, her boss's wife, mutual friends, and even a few of my own surprises. I had a plan, and it was going to be the most unforgettable wedding anyone had ever attended. But before that, I had one more thing to do. Confronting the other woman. There was one person I hadn't contacted yet, the wife of Claire's boss. Her name was Lauren. I had met her a few times at office events, back when I thought Claire's job was just a normal workplace. She was kind, soft-spoken, and completely unaware that her husband was screwing my fiancé. So I found her number, and I called her. "Hello," she answered, sounding confused. "Lauren? This is Ethan, Claire's fiancé." A pause. "Oh, hi Ethan. What's up? I need to talk to you. It's about your husband." Another silence. This one was longer. I could hear her breathing on the other end of the line, like some part of her already knew what I was going to say. "What about him?" she asked finally, her voice small. So I told her. Everything. I sent her the proof, the messages, the emails, the hotel reservations. And when she finally spoke again, her voice was filled with quiet rage. "Thank you for telling me," she said. "Don't worry. I'll handle it." I didn't know what she meant by that, but I couldn't wait to find out. The night before the wedding, Claire was completely clueless. She was excited, glowing, talking about how perfect tomorrow would be. I played my part flawlessly. We had one final dinner together as an engaged couple. Her parents were there, gushing about how proud they were of us. My parents were excited. Our friends were drinking, celebrating, all of them thinking they were about to witness the happiest day of our lives. And Claire? She had no idea that in less than 24 hours, her life was about to fall apart. The wedding disaster. The morning of the wedding felt surreal. I woke up early, staring at the ceiling, feeling calm for the first time in days. Claire was in another room, following the ridiculous tradition of not seeing the groom before the wedding. But even if she had been next to me, I wouldn't have cared, because by the time today ended, she wouldn't be my wife. She would be nothing. Setting the stage for her humiliation. I had spent every second of the past week preparing for this moment. I had the perfect audience. Claire's parents, my parents, her closest friends, our extended family, they were all here. But most importantly, Lauren, the wife of Claire's boss, had accepted my invitation. I had the perfect timing. The revelation wouldn't come too early. I wanted Claire to fully believe she was about to have her dream wedding. Then, when she least expected it, I'd rip everything away. I had the proof, and I wasn't going to simply tell people. I was going to let Claire expose herself in front of everyone. Now, all I had to do was wait. The beginning of the ceremony. The venue was stunning. A grand, outdoor ceremony, surrounded by flowers, music playing softly in the background. Everything Claire had ever wanted. And she was glowing with excitement. I stood at the altar, pretending to be the eager, loving fiancé. I smiled at guests as they took their seats. I shook hands with my best man. I played my role perfectly. Then the music changed. Everyone stood. And there she was. Claire walked down the aisle in the most expensive dress I had ever seen, her face beaming with happiness. She looked at me with so much love in her eyes, like she wasn't a lying, cheating manipulator. I almost laughed. Instead, I smiled back. The ceremony began, letting her walk into the trap. The officiant spoke. Claire and I exchanged traditional vows, for better or worse, in sickness and in health, until death do us part. The hypocrisy was disgusting. Claire squeezed my hands as she spoke her vows, her voice filled with fake emotion. I promise to be faithful to you, to love you unconditionally, to be your partner in all things. I swallowed the bitterness in my throat. I could hear her boss's words in my head. I can't stop thinking about last night. When can we do it again? The guests were smiling, teary-eyed. They had no idea that this wasn't a wedding. It was an execution. The moment everything changed, the officiant turned to me. Do you take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife? I took a deep breath. Then, I let the silence stretch. People shifted in their seats. Claire frowned slightly, squeezing my hand. Ethan, I slowly turned my head toward her. Claire, my voice was steady, loud enough for everyone to hear. Before I say I do, there's something I think everyone here should know. A murmur ran through the crowd. Claire's frown deepened. What are you talking about? She asked, laughing nervously. I pulled my phone from my pocket, and I pressed play, exposing the truth. Claire's voice filled the air. I can't believe I'm getting married soon, but at least I'll always have you on the side. Winky face. The crowd gasped. Claire's face turned white. The recording continued. I wish you could come with me on the honeymoon. Maybe I'll sneak away for a night. Winky face. Her mother clutched her chest. People turned to each other, whispering. Then came the final nail in the coffin. A new voice, her boss. You know I'll always want you, Claire, even after you marry him. The video ended. Silence. Then, chaos. The aftermath begins. Claire stumbled backward. Ethan, wait. Let me explain, she gasped, reaching for me. I pulled away. Explain? I laughed coldly. You've been cheating on me for months, Claire, and you thought you could stand here and lie to my face. Her father stood up, furious. Claire, what the hell is this? He roared. Her mother was crying. The guests were staring at Claire like she was something rotten. And then, from the back of the crowd, came the loudest slap I had ever heard. Lauren's revenge. Lauren, the wife of Claire's boss, had moved fast. Before Claire could react, she had marched forward and slapped Claire across the face. You home-wrecking B*H, she screamed. Claire stumbled. Lauren, please, Claire choked out. Lauren wasn't finished. You think you could do this behind my back and get away with it? She snapped. I took everything from him. Our house, his money. He has nothing now. And you? You just lost everything too. Claire looked horrified. The guests were dead silent. And I just watched. Because my job here was done. Walking away for good. I took a deep breath, then turned to the officiant. I think we're done here. I pulled the wedding ring from my pocket, and I threw it at Claire's feet. You deserve each other, I said coldly. Then I turned, and I walked away. Behind me, Claire collapsed to her knees, sobbing. Her perfect day had just turned into her worst nightmare, and I had never felt more alive. As I walked out of the wedding venue, I didn't look back. Behind me, I could still hear the murmurs, the gasps, the crumbling of Claire's perfect world. It should have been our wedding day. Instead, it became her public execution, and I had been the one to pull the trigger. But I wasn't done yet. Because while I had destroyed Claire's reputation in front of her family and friends, there was still one more person who needed to suffer. Her boss. The man who had helped ruin everything. The ruin of a powerful man. Lauren had been quietly planning her own revenge ever since I called her. And the moment she walked into that wedding and slapped Claire in front of everyone, I knew she had something big in store. I didn't have to wait long to find out what. The next morning, I woke up to dozens of messages on my phone. Screenshots, news articles, office emails that had leaked online. Lauren had gone nuclear. She had exposed every detail of her husband's affair. She had sent copies of the evidence to his company's board of directors. She had filed for divorce, publicly, making sure the world knew exactly why. And the consequences? Brutal. Her husband was fired immediately. His company wanted nothing to do with a scandal that big. And with the divorce proceedings moving forward, Lauren took everything. The house, the cars, their joint savings. By the end of the week, he was jobless, broke, and sleeping in a hotel. And Claire? Well, Claire was even worse off. Claire's downfall. After I left the wedding, Claire tried everything to reach me. First, it was desperate texts and voicemails. Ethan, please. We need to talk. It wasn't what it looked like. Please, don't throw everything away. I love you. We can fix this. Then, when I didn't answer, the messages turned into rage. You humiliated me in front of everyone. How could you do this? You ruined my life, Ethan. You're just as bad as you think I am. And finally, silence. I thought that was the end of it. But then, a few days later, I got a call from her father. Her family turns against her. I wasn't surprised that Claire's parents were furious. I expected her father to call and yell at me for embarrassing his daughter. But that's not what happened. When I answered, his voice was quiet, measured. Ethan, he sighed. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. I blinked. What? I had no idea Claire was capable of something like this, he admitted. You didn't deserve what she did to you. And after everything that happened at the wedding, well, let's just say she's not welcome in this house anymore. I sat in stunned silence as he continued. Her mother is devastated. Her friends have abandoned her. She lost everything in one night. Good, I said flatly. He sighed. I don't expect you to forgive her. I just wanted you to know that we understand now, and that we wish you the best. It was the first and only time I had ever heard Claire's father sound defeated. It was almost sad. Almost. But not enough for me to care. Claire had made her choices. And now, she had to live with them. Moving on without her. I moved forward with my life. A new apartment. A fresh start. For the first time in years, I felt free. I focused on work, traveled, reconnected with old friends. And most importantly, I healed. Claire, on the other hand, she was drowning. With her reputation in tatters, she had to leave town. No job, no support system, no fiancé to fund her lifestyle. And for a while, I thought that was the last I would ever hear of her. Until, one day, she came back. The final encounter. It had been 2 years since the wedding disaster. I was sitting at a cafe, enjoying my morning coffee, when I heard someone say my name. I looked up, and there she was. Claire. But not the Claire I remembered. She looked different. Thinner. Tired. The confident, glowing woman I had once loved was gone. Ethan, she said softly, forcing a small smile. I set my coffee down. Claire. She hesitated. Do you have a minute? I should have ignored her. But something in me wanted to see how far she had fallen. Make it quick. She sat down across from me, fidgeting with her hands. I wanted to say I'm sorry. I raised an eyebrow. Sorry. For everything. For what I did. For what I put you through. She swallowed hard. You were the best thing that ever happened to me, Ethan. And I threw it away. I stayed silent. I lost everything because of my mistake, she whispered. Good. She hesitated. I don't expect you to forgive me. But do you ever think about what we had? Do you ever miss it? I took a slow sip of my coffee. Then, I met her eyes and said the words I had been waiting to say for 2 years. No, Claire. I don't. She inhaled sharply. Not even a little, she asked, her voice breaking. I stood up, tossing some cash on the table. Enjoy your coffee, Claire. And then, I walked away. For the last time. The ultimate victory. When I walked away from Claire at that cafe, I thought that was the end of it. I thought I had finally closed that chapter of my life. But fate had one more twist in store. Because just when I thought I would never hear from her again, Claire's life took an even darker turn. Her rock bottom. A few months after our encounter, I got a call from a mutual friend. Dude, have you heard about Claire? I hadn't. I hadn't thought about her since that last meeting. She's not doing great, man. I leaned back in my chair. What do you mean? She lost everything. She had to move back in with her parents. She's working some dead-end retail job just to survive. I exhaled slowly. That's rough. That's not even the worst part, he continued. Remember her boss? I smirked. You mean her secret soulmate? Yeah. He ghosted her. Completely. Right after his wife divorced him, he tried to run off with some younger girl. Left Claire with nothing. I couldn't help it. I laughed. She ruined her own life for a man who didn't even want her. And now, she was paying the price. A few weeks later, Claire tried to reach out one last time. I got a long message, one I almost didn't read. Ethan, I don't even know where to start. I know you'll probably never forgive me, but I just wanted to say I'm sorry. Really, truly sorry. You didn't deserve what I did to you. And now, I see how much I threw away. I've lost everything, and I know I deserve it. But I miss you. I miss what we had. I miss us. And I wish I could take it all back. I stared at the message for a long time. Then, without responding, I deleted it. Because Claire didn't deserve closure. She didn't deserve peace. She deserved exactly what she got. Moving on, for good. With Claire finally out of my life, I could focus on what really mattered. My future. I got a promotion at work, something that had always been delayed because of wedding planning. I traveled, finally doing all the things I had put on hold for Claire. And eventually, I met someone new. Someone who actually respected me. Someone who was nothing like Claire. And for the first time in years, I was truly happy. The last time I saw Claire. One day, years later, I ran into Claire again. It was completely unexpected. I was out with my girlfriend, laughing, holding hands, just enjoying life. And then I saw her. She was alone, standing by the sidewalk, watching me. Her hair was dull. Her clothes were worn. She looked like a ghost of the person she used to be. Our eyes met. And in that moment, I saw everything. Regret. Loss. Desperation. She opened her mouth, maybe to say something. Maybe to beg for another chance. But I didn't care anymore. I simply smiled, pulled my girlfriend closer, and walked away. For the last time. Final thoughts. Looking back, I realized something important. Claire thought she was invincible. She thought she could lie, cheat, betray me, and walk away without consequences. But life doesn't work like that. In the end, she lost everything. And me? I won. Completely. Because the best revenge isn't anger. It's moving on. It's living a life so good, so successful, that the people who wronged you have no choice but to watch from the sidelines. And that's exactly what I did. I moved on. I won. And I never looked back.
If you liked this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more incredible tales of revenge, redemption, and success. There are plenty of other stories waiting for you, so be sure to check them out. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.